to another episode of Anékdota. I am Angeles and this is Aida.
Nope.
Welcome, Aida. Thank you for being here with me today. And after 9 hours of conversation, we have already a subject to talk about. A very interesting um, topic to address and to kind of unveil all of this that sometimes we are very unconscious of. What do you think, Aida?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Angeles, for that warm welcome. For establishing that context about the 9 hours prior, yeah, you guys. So if you see us a little bit up over here, it's because we had 9 hours of prep, but we didn't get anywhere. But anyway, we're here, and we, like Angeles said, we do have a very interesting topic to share with you guys today because we address topics that we're actually going through in our lives.
Yeah.
So that's how we come up with the topic of the week. And this is exactly what we're going through right now. What we're realizing, all these cycles. And the subject of this episode is Turning the Page, the Art of Closing Cycles. So, where do you want to begin, Angeles?
Where do I want to begin? So,
Where do we start?
where do we start? Um, I think it's pretty interesting that we realize how we're closing a cycle. I think it's very funny how it's several of us who are closing cycles. How we close cycles, like you just said last night, like you just mentioned, we close cycles within cycles. And like I was sharing with you right now, sometimes we are on denial or of wanting to close a cycle, and we are letting our unconscious dictate our life, right? And it's just interesting to me how we are so sometimes unconscious of this mental cycles that we have, and we let our unconscious dictate our future or our decisions or this big changes that we are approaching in our lives. So
So you just reminded me of that phrase from Carl Jung. Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life, and we'll call it destiny or fate. And that reminds me, um, like we were talking about the other day, like some 15 years ago or 10, 15 years ago, I don't even know when. Like I realized that I had some pretty like defined cycles, like of 6 months, and like I realized that I was going through something, and then like a really dramatic shift would happen every 6 months, and then things would take a twist, and my life would completely change.
mhm.
And I didn't know that right until I made it conscious. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, wait, so what's going on here? So I'm now expecting a big change because I know that like I'm predetermined to or pre conditioned,
Mhm.
to that change because that's the pattern that I've experienced, for a few years. So I made it conscious, and and this was way before I started working on any of these things or learning, like just had any like a tiny little level of consciousness. But I realized that, and I'm like, okay, well, no, I'm not gonna let it happen anymore. I don't want these big like shakes, like every 6 months.
Right.
So once I realized that, I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna stick to this, and I'm not gonna let whatever comes my way, like in the next 6 months, throw me off and then change my life the way it was happening. And I made that switch. And I didn't even, and this was like I said, way before, I started learning about like all these teachings or anything like this. And but I changed it. I was able to change it. So
Yeah.
that was my first encounter with cycles. And this was before it became popular, like close cycles, closing cycles, and you gotta close that cycle and all that stuff. That has become very popular like this past few years.
Right.
So that was my first realization of what a cycle was like in my life. How about you?
For me, it wasn't at all. It was just like I just realized it. Like when we were talking that I was closing a cycle and I was opening one. And the most I want to say the craziest thing is that I realized that there was places in particular in my case, there was places and there were people who were opening and closing cycles for me. And for example, when I came to the US, like from where I was born to where I came, like I opened the cycle when I was born and I closed it when I came here, when I moved to the US, when I was 10. And then I realized that from 10 till I was 20, basically, because my daughter was like, I was 19 when I got pregnant, but I had her when I was almost 20. Um, that was another cycle, of like from 10 to 20, and like so many things happened there. Um, and then a cycle within a cycle of being a mother, like my relationship I feel with my children changed when they turned 10. Um, and then another cycle was just like my previous relationship with this person, how it started, where I opened that cycle, when I like I was sharing with you. That cycle was opened in Mexico in Teotihuacan. And I was just not even aware of it. And it opened there and it closed in Egypt. But
Pyra- Pyramids.
right. And it was just so weird because it closed, but my unconscious didn't accept the closing until we marked the 10 years.
Like you were already like preconditioned, like I just
Right.
shared too, right? Like, no, wait, wait, wait. Can't really close it because we're not up to the 10-year mark. Okay.
Exactly. So
Hmm.
I was like living still with this person who was just like, no, no, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. And it's like 10 years after I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna make it work. So let's just give up, on this. Let's just not continue. And then my therapist comes in and he opened a new cycle for me. And it was just like, and I just realized this, and it was just kind of like, wait a sec. Like I opened a cycle 10 years ago. I closed it and then this guy came and opened a new cycle for me. And it was just so like, like I don't know how to like so surprising to realize that I was living with 10 years cycles.
Cycles.
And to me it was like, okay, now I have made the unconscious conscious, Now it's like, how many years do I want to live within? Because every 10 years, like you just said, my world was just kind of like shaking and stuff like that. So it's like, how often do I want to live cycles now? And do I still want to live cycles every 10 years? And how shaky do I want to live those cycles? Because I feel like, you know, every 10 years they have been like a roller coaster of so many drastic changes, like very drastic changes. And it's very truth, until we make the unconscious conscious, we will believe that's the reality. And it's like, no, now I'm gonna create my own cycles and I'm gonna see what is going to form part, or who's going to be part of this cycle and what places are going to um, open, what places and what people are going to open and close my cycles, and how do I want to live within those cycles.
That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought about it like that, even after the 10 plus hours that we that we talked. But yeah, because I mean I always thought that maybe cycles they were just that it wasn't something that I would open like, okay, I'm starting a new cycle, like starting now. This is my new cycle. This is what
Right.
that's what I'm getting from what you just said. And I think that's pretty interesting and that's pretty cool because yeah, it would give me like an whole other opportunity just make by consciously saying, okay, I'm opening up a new cycle right now, like today, and I'm gonna leave it. I want to leave it like two, 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 like this, and this is what I want to create within this new cycle.
Hmm.
So that's cool. I mean, that's pretty cool. Because I think there's also like cycles that we live based on situations that pop into our lives. Like what I shared with you last night. Like this cycle that I started years ago, that I'm just closing like, like this past few months that I've closed. But within that 2-year cycle, there were also tiny little cycles that I opened and closed. And I wasn't realizing it until I took the time and looked back and say, okay, I was going through this. I needed to live through this, experience this, learn this, integrate this, get rid of this other stuff so that I could consciously say, okay, I'm closing this cycle now.
Hmm.
It's done. And I think closing a cycle has given me a sense of maybe satisfaction, or I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, I think when we close a cycle, it's important to look back and say, okay, what have I learned from this whole 10 years, of so many events that have changed. How did this affected me? How did it contribute to my life? And what are the new these things that that I learned, or this what I can take from this cycle and leave behind for the new cycle. Does that make sense? Like,
So kind of like weed out what you don't want to bring into this new cycle.
correct. Yeah. So, for example, in my case, like I have done a lot of introspection, and it's like, what is this things that the new Angelus wants? You know, like what are the things that I want to continue? Like what works and what doesn't work for me anymore? What have I learned from these 10 years that has not worked? Um, for example, one of the things is that I was telling you right now is um, if I go into a relationship, do I want to be the person who goes up to the person and tell this guy that I like him? And it's like, no, that's something I don't want to change. And I'm not going to change it. Um, because I have done introspection on it and I'm like, it has always worked for me. Um, the guys that I like, they have always come up to me and tell me. So I don't feel the need to go and tell anybody. And for me, it's just like, what do I think, about this particular situation? It's um, like for me, it's just like I want to continue with that part of Angeles because it's just part of me. Is what I really think. If that guy really wants to be with me, he will come and tell me. Like I don't really have to go tell nobody. And if he doesn't, maybe he's not so much the kind of guy that I want to have next to me. If he doesn't come to me and tells me how he feels. And yeah, I just that's one part of me that I still want to take. But then what's another part what's something that I want to get rid of? And one of those is like, well, having a person who's conscious, who's mature, um, maybe
They're
I
taking notes, people. If there's any takers.
no, no, but I mean, it's just kind of like, there's things that I like you were asking me last night. Is there things that you already have very clear? Like, yes, there's things that they're non-negotiable for me now. And it's just like I'm not willing to be with someone who has a 9 to 5 job. Like I want someone who has his freedom, of time, just like I do. And that's a non-negotiable. So like going into a cycle, into a new cycle, and if I go into a new relationship, it's like I already have very defined what I want and what I don't want, what I still want to keep as part of my personality, and those things that I can possibly change, like being more caring or more loving towards my partner, like and and also like that's just in my personal going into personal relationships, um, but then also looking as a mother or, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, how I'm going in this new cycle. And as a creator, it's like, what do I want to create? Where do I want to get? What do I want it to do in this 10 years? If it's a 10-year cycle that I'm gonna put myself, because maybe it's not a 10-year anymore.
Hmm. Doesn't have to be 10 years. Yeah, exactly. Okay, but how did you know that you were closing a cycle?
That's a great question. I realized I was closing the cycle talking with my therapist. Oh, actually, no, talking to you. It was first that I realized.
Her backup therapist.
Yeah, yes, my backup therapy. Sorry, yeah, that that
Okay.
has my second file. Talking to you. That's when I realized when I was like, okay, this is it. This is not, I'm gonna cut the last string, that is still there, that I'm still holding on to. I'm gonna cut it off, and it's just like I'm gonna move on with my life. Um, and I'm gonna change my perception, not only in regards to my previous relationship, but also in my personal life. Like I was telling you earlier, now I feel very confident, very happy, and very um, at peace, like I'm not worried about this new angel. Is like it's not worried about how many clients am I going to get per week, how much am I going to make per month. It's like everything is just flowing into my life, and it's just everything is just happening. I don't know how, but it's just happening, right? It's a lot of introspection. It's a lot of questioning, and it's a lot of going deep and understanding, okay, why am I feeling like this? And I'm not feeling worried like last month, or how this person has show up in my life and changed my life, like my therapist, like you, like my business partner. Um, so it's going in and asking all these questions, looking at the answers, looking at my reality. And it's just kind of like, okay, like I just realized, like for me, it was that introspection that made me realize, oh shit, like I opened a cycle in Teotihuacan, writing a lot. That's how I became aware, because I remember sharing that story with you that I wrote in regards to that relationship, and you were like, wow, you open a cycle. And like you were like, wow, like these two places in particular had very strong uh opening and beginning, and yeah, opening and endings.
Like milestones per se.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Per se.
Yeah, and that made me realize it, and then I was just like, wow. And as a writer, like I started writing about it, and I was like, I opened a cycle then and I closed it here. And I was like, wow, this is like, that's when I realized it writing my story is that I realized that I open and I close a cycle. And that's what made me realize, oh, this started when I was little. Like when I was brought here at 10, I open a cycle.
That's how you identified like the previous 10
Yes.
cycles. Okay.
Yes. Like how often do big events happen in my life? Like really big events. And I was like, oh shit, every 10 years something big happens.
There's
It's
a
like
pattern here. Hmm.
yeah, I moved here when I was 10. I then I had my daughter 10 years later. I became a mother. You know, that was like a huge change in my life. And then I met my partner like right after that. And it was just like, okay, and then I closed that relationship 10 years later. And it's like, whoa, like I'm living by cycles of 10. And and then I realized it when I questioned a lot about how my therapist came into my life. And I was just and writing a story about him too. It was that I was like, he came into my life to open a new cycle. Because ever since I met him, ever since I came across him, my life completely changed. My perception completely changed. I became more aware, more conscious about who I am and where I'm at and all these things that I didn't even think, I didn't feel at least that confident to believe it. And he was just kind of like, trust yourself. So he came to open a new cycle for me.
So it's like you knew, but you just needed reinforcements. To kind of like push you through
I
the.
think so. I think I had already seen certain things, but I didn't think much about it until this situation, that I have done a lot of introspection in therapy and after therapy and with you and with um with people that are surrounding me nowadays that I have been like, okay, like I am closing a cycle and I'm opening a new cycle. And also became aware of those cycles within. That's that because there is cycles within that 10-year cycle, right? It's
Little
not just
cycles within big cycles, and yep,
yeah. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I agree with you.
So for me now, it's like, okay, who do I want to be within this new cycle for how long? Um, what, what's this angel is that is gonna come in now? And what do I want to do?
And I think that's where the art part comes in. So there's an art in closing cycles, but I think it's more artistic to create a new cycle, to
Wow,
start
that's
off.
so beautiful. That is a very good phrase.
Because I mean, if you think about it, it's like, okay, well, I'm starting out a new cycle, but I want to create it. That's where the artistic part comes in. It's like, okay, who do I want to be part of this new cycle? What do I want in this cycle to have experience and all that stuff? That's art.
Yeah. And that's so funny because I have been creating a lot of art lately
Mm,
that is like I'm I'm being very particular about the people that I want to to be around with now, the kind of relationship that I want now.
mm-hmm,
Um, and it's yeah, and the kind of even the kind of content that I am creating, not just for my personal for my brand, but for like in my business, as well. Who am I collaborating with? Like I don't care to collaborate with just anybody anymore. I'm not on that mood to collaborate with just with anybody anymore. Like,
Not today, people.
yeah, I'm definitely not like being very selective now.
I was gonna say picky, but I like selective.
I'm a very
And that
picky person.
and no, and there's not, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, we do have to be picky. Or I mean, well, not we don't have to be picky, but I do strongly invite everyone to be picky. Yeah, it's important to be selective on who we want to share moments, a business, a project, our time. I think that's really important. So I think it's good to
Yeah.
do, or at
I
least
I see it now as something very important. Before I was not. Even when I started my own business, like I was like, oh yeah, let's collaborate with everyone. Now it's like, no, I don't want to collaborate with just anybody. And also for like for our brands, like or for Anékdota, is like I think that's part of us talking so much about the episodes because it's like we really want to contribute to the people and we want to talk from our own experiences because sometimes like we were just sharing um with another friend, it's like sometimes we feel like we're the only ones who are experiencing these cycles or these crazy things that are happening in our lives. And it's like, no, there's so many of us who are closing cycles, who are doing like a detox of all these people who have always formed part of us. And now it's like, I don't think I can put up with this kind of attitudes anymore. This kind of, it's just kind of like, okay, I don't want to be around this kind of environment anymore. So,
I like it. I like that. And speaking of cycles, this episode opens up a new milestone, a new cycle. Why? Do you remember why?
because it's episode 11.
Woo woo! That's right. Bingo.
Yes.
Yes. So we're super excited about that, you guys. It's our 11th episode. And to us who are like in this magical world or in the world of magic, the number 11 is really symbolic. What does the 11 represent to you, Angeles?
Like a new
Related
beginning,
related to cycles, of course, yeah.
a new beginning, a new beginning full of great things. Like full of surprises, but good surprises. For me, it's like it's
But good
time.
surprises. Let's yeah, exactly. Let me make this big emphasis here. Good surprises.
Yes, definitely. I think it's like the beginning of a great news cycle and so many what is it? When you go in and you put the little seeds in for a plant to go, now is the time where the flower blooms. And it's
Ooh.
like that's how I feel. Like this new cycle is like we're thinking about new things like what do I want to bring to Anékdota as an individual and what do we want to bring as a team to the community. And I feel like we have been talking about that. We have been thinking about it. Unconsciously, we kind of, have been preparing for after episode 11th. And I think it's like, okay, we kind of know
Where we're heading to.
yes, what route we want to take. Yes, definitely. So I think this is a very nice beginning because also I thought about it, like the first 10 episodes were just kind of like our
Just warming up.
yes, our warming up,
Stretching here.
our first steps to kind of realize what do I want to talk about, where do I want to head, what do I think is going to connect more with people, and is it true? Is it really true is it really what I want? and things like that. So I think we realized like we enjoy it a lot. We're talking about things that are like you mentioned at the beginning of the episode that are happening within our lives. And I think that's the best thing to do, to share from our own.
Anecdotes.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. So I think we're heading the great way, in a great direction. And I think that what's coming, it's really good. What does 11 represent to you? Because I know you have a lot more than I do.
A lot more than I do. No, well, I
Yes.
mean, to me, 11 is super magical. That's why my my other project is 1111. So based on the magiologia background that I have, and all the magic stuff, like to me, 11, the number 11 itself represents a portal. You
Mm.
know, post and post. And I see it as yes, we're closing out the first cycle of Anékdota, the first 10 episodes, but starting now, this new portal is opening up a whole new cycle, a whole new stage in our little project, little big project. And I see it as a portal to a whole new, I don't want to say cycle again to sound redundant, but a whole new stage maybe of
Mhm.
or growth or expansion as anécdota. And
Mhm.
that's how I mean, that has everything to do with that portal that we're opening up starting in this episode. Closing.
Yeah.
So we're closing and opening one.
Yes, exactly. And I think that also that these two, like you said, this portal of these two little doors can represent, that the opening and the closing.
Oh, that too. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting how we have this portal to go into a whole new level of anécdota. I love that.
Level. I love that. Yeah. I like that word better than cycle or stage or, yep,
Yeah,
level.
yeah. It's a whole different level, like, of what we have in mind, I think. And I think our listeners are going to enjoy it a lot. Um, because we do have really great things in mind. And I am very happy about this project. I feel like one of the things that have closed this cycle with a good sense is the things that I have been starting in this past 6, 8 months, they have done like so much eye-opening to me of what I'm capable of doing and who I'm capable to reach, and all these kind of the people that are entering my life and how they're changing it in such a great way that I feel so happy and so grateful. Like people like you, Aida, who just came in, and just throw this idea to me, and I was just kind of like, there was a lot of chaos going on in my life, but I was just like, let me go for it. Let me do it, because it's being presented to me for a reason. And then just like you, there has been other people who has come, and they're just kind of like, let's collaborate. And I'm just like, okay, like this new cycle is bringing a lot of collaboration, a lot of great things, a lot of beautiful people that I'm so happy and grateful that I have in my life, Like I'm so happy and grateful that I have you as a friend.
Thank you. Me too. And you know what? You bring something up that's super important to me. And it's, well, you mentioned chaos, like this whole chaos that, we've gone through lately, closing out those other cycles. And how within that chaos, all this, like in retrospective, how within even going through those chaotic situations and moments, we were able to create a lot of cool stuff, like Anécdota, like other projects and stuff, things like that. And that blew my mind.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think, I don't know when I realized that, if it was this week, last week, and I think I mentioned it to you, and I was like, whoa, I think it's awesome. Like how even within, being like, oh, like all over, feeling like I was like all over the place and dealing with so much stuff, how we're still able to create something so beautiful, and we're closing out that cycle or those cycles, and we're starting something like super cool.
Hmm. Yes.
That it's not just for us, but we're sharing with other people, through collaboration, through the listeners. And I don't know. I find that really the symbolism behind it, like really loving and full of, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what to call it.
I love it. Yes, and I want to know, I would like to hear from our listeners, how often do they experience cycles? If they have become aware of those cycles, um, have you questioned what are those things that have worked throughout those cycles and those things that maybe they have not, and that we can start removing, right? We can start kind of picking out those things that have worked and the things that have not, and
You just
enter
close
a
out that cycle and
right, enter a new cycle with conscious, of who I am now, with all these things that I like about me, and what more can I attract? What more can I create? What more can I become?
there you go.
And
That's a great invite.
yeah.
I'm gonna invite people this episode because you just invited them. So to do all the work that I can think of.
Yeah, it's like I think that's one of the questionings that I have asked myself. It's like, you know, when I have done all of this introspection, it's like, what more do I want to become?
Mm.
What more can I give? What more can I receive? Because I think it's in that questioning, in that introspection. I always tell people to do a lot of introspection. I don't know if it's just me who's,
Me too. I mean, I normally call it just going within that
yeah,
within. Yeah, because I think that's where all the answers are.
yeah, and I question everything now, before, and I have to be very honest, this cycle, I have closed it with questioning. I did not open this cycle with questioning or even being conscious of anything.
Did you close it with answers?
Yes.
Did you end up with a lot of answers, or still wondering, but you're like, okay, I'm okay closing this cycle even if I don't have the answers? Ooh, that was a curveball.
There is totally, that is
Yeah,
totally a
I
curve.
just like it just came to my mind. I'm like, okay, let me see what we can get.
Um, I think there is one question that I'm still kind of like, why is it happening like this? Um, in a very particular situation. Um, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like I'm gonna let it. I don't have that answer now, so I'm gonna just let it go. And who knows, maybe in a couple months, in a couple years, that answer will come, because uh, I feel that sometimes we want the answer like right now, and the answer not always comes right there and now. Sometimes when we least expect it, the answer comes, and it's just kind of like, okay, I get it now. Why it had to play out like that.
Or perhaps we get confirmation that we did have the answer. We've had the answer all along.
Yeah, and sometimes we just don't want to see it, or we just don't, or we kind of play out dumb. That's how I feel. Like in my case, I'm saying, like, sometimes I feel like I have the answer, but
I'm just gonna pretend I don't have it, and let's see if
yes,
something else comes out, just so that I don't change
yes,
my answer.
that's how that's how I feel sometimes. That I'm like, like I'm just playing dumb, even though I know I have the answer. but in my case, I feel like, yeah, I'm playing dumb, but it's because I want a very clear answer. Like, I want a very clear
I'm
answer.
gonna pretend I don't have the answer to see if anything else shows up, and it's like pop, pop, pop. The
Yeah.
same answer, like uh,
And I think that's what's happening right now. Like, I kind of suspect, but then at the same time, I'm like, okay, I'm just not gonna expect too much out of it. I'm just gonna,
maybe because you're not ready to close the cycle.
no, I think it's because I'm scared to open the new cycle.
Ooh, okay, okay,
I
that's
think it's
interesting.
because I'm like, wow, like what's gonna happen with this? But I mean, it's gonna play out the way it's going to play out how it needs to play out. And I'm not gonna think about it too much. That's what I tell
Perfect.
myself. Like, just enjoy the process. Whatever happens, happens. Um, so everything is gonna play out the way it needs to play out.
Nice.
Be keeping my what I know, what I want, and what has worked.
Okay. So are you ready to turn the page?
Definitely. I think I did that a couple days ago,
You were like,
a couple weeks
I
ago.
was
I
just
was
like,
like,
I shut the book down.
I, with certain things, I share with you 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where I was like, I'm cutting the last string here. Like, that's it. Like, I don't want to know anything more. Like, yeah, I have great memories about this. I enjoyed a lot that ride and all these things, but that's it. Like, I'm ready to move on that.
Closing this book, not
Yeah.
the chapter, the book.
Yeah. That book in particular, yes. And that's where I'm like, okay, let's see what happens next.
Perfect. Okay, you guys, well, we're ready to turn the page on this first 11 episodes of Anékdota and to start a whole new page, a whole new chapter, a whole new cycle with you guys. And would like to thank you guys. Well, thank you, Angeles, for doing this with me. And thank you guys for listening, for watching, for sharing your thoughts, for just being there. We truly, truly, truly appreciate it. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Aida. Thank you for helping me throughout this closing of cycle because you have played out a big part on this closing cycle. And I think last night I went to bed very happy about, like I have all these great things that I have that have and all of these great things, people, places, and perceptions that have entered my life with this new cycle that I feel very happy and very blessed. And I celebrate that. So thank
No, thank you. Well, thank you guys. Please share with us your cycles and how you are able to detect them. How confident are you that you're closing them or that you want to close them? That's another one, too. And we'll read you guys and we'll talk to you next week. Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.